Not long ago, I made a post on my blog about whether or not you should go to art school or not. This is a question that I get all the time, especially when I'm at like conventions or maybe just like a local university and I'm teaching there, or helping out, or doing something like that. It always comes up: how important is an online educate or an art education these days? And I always struggle with this question because there's so many different answers that could apply to every different individual that's out there. So I want to say that, should you get an art education? The answer, hands down, without a doubt, is yes. Now, where it gets a little more tricky is, what kind of education do you need for art? Because most people, when they're looking into an art education, they're thinking university. That's the main thing that they're going to go to, is, should I get a university education? That's 90% of the time, probably even higher than that, probably like 98, 99% of the time, they're talking about, should I go get a bachelor's of fine arts, or should I go get an associate's of art, or something along the lines of those. So, in the terms of that, you don't really need an art degree. A lot of jobs out there, there has never been a single time in all my time that I've done this, I've had somebody come up and say, hey, you've really got good art, where'd you get your degree from? Never once has that come up. So, and I'm talking professional jobs down to commissions, all that kind of stuff. Nobody cares about what kind of degree you have. What they do care about is the skill level that you have. Now, I've met a lot of people. The only time that I've ever talked about degrees is when we're actually talking about art degrees to somebody. I never go up and have that as the first question. I usually, if I'm going to bring that up, I'm usually going to bring it up after they talk about it. Usually it comes up as a term like they wonder if they've got their money's worth, or if they've got the skill level that they should be after having an art education. And that comes down to the individual. You can't just expect to be good just because you had an art degree. So, whether or not you need to go to an actual university or not, I don't, in today's age, no, you don't have to. There might be a few jobs that say they require it. All the ones that I've come across that have said they require it, they always throw in or equivalent, or just support it with a killer portfolio or something along the lines of that. So there's always ways around it. I mean, a company's not going to turn you down. If you're making unbelievable art and they need it, they're not going to turn you down because you don't have a little piece of paper that says, hey, I spent a lot of money to get this little piece of paper. Because you can actually get those without even being good, to be honest with you. There are a lot of universities there that they just take your money and give you the degree with minimal work. So I'm not going to mention any actual universities in this, but I have seen some, or even been to some for that matter. There was a project I did at the first university that I attended, and I went through the entire course, and the very final was to do a portrait. They didn't say what kind of portrait, so I thought it would be kind of fun, because I was really into fantasy art and sci-fi at the time, to do an alien portrait. The problem is, it didn't bring in anything that you really needed. You didn't have reference, you didn't have actual anatomy to work off of, you didn't have any of that. So I did this absolutely horrible image, and on top of that, it was real heavy-handed with the charcoal. And I got an A minus, if I recall. It was an A minus, and it was just terrible. And when I started my education at a more prestigious school, and yes, I did go to university for that matter, but that one, I also had a portrait that I had to do for the final, and I believe I got a B minus on this one, but the skill level difference was night and day, because this school that I went to actually taught true anatomy structure. They taught form, they taught lighting, they taught everything you needed to succeed as an artist, where the other one was just, the instructor wasn't prepared, the curriculum was kind of lax, it was just terrible, and that's the difference, is I got a better score, or a better grade, for doing worse work. because it wasn't about the work. It was just about getting students through the door. And there are a lot of schools that do that. Even private schools, don't get me wrong, it's not just universities. There's a lot of private schools who just want your money. So if you're going to go to art school, like in terms of a university, you can go to a local university. Now, if you're going to a private school, your tuition's going to be through the roof. I'll be honest, I learned that the hard way. So I'm probably going to be paying off student loans for a long time. Some people have nightmare cases of student loans, and you ask them and they're going to be like, oh yeah, it's the worst thing that I have in my life. I can never get out of it. Every month I'm super depressed because they go into my account, they take my money out, and I have all these collectors calling me, and I have to pay $1,000 a month, and I don't even make that. Like, you'll hear stories like that. So one thing is you need to understand, a lot of these schools will get you while you're young and you don't understand finances. I was really young when I went to art school, and I thought I understood finances. I didn't. I didn't understand. Where they got me was the interest rates. That's where they get most of the people. And the interest rates suck. I'll be honest, they suck. There's different types of repayment plans that are great, and they make it manageable for you, especially if you're in like my case where I've got kids and other financial responsibilities. They work really well with you as long as you're doing your part. Reevaluating your yearly financial structures and giving them the data they need for that. They'll work with you pretty nicely for most cases. This isn't the case for everybody, so you have to check your fine print and what you can get on and what kind of grants you have and what kind of family you're supporting and all that kind of stuff. It all plays into it. So honestly, yeah, I have student loans, but they're very manageable. However, I also know a few students that actually went to school with me who got some private loans. They don't have kids, they don't have a family structure, they're younger than me, and they have $1,000 a month payment, and they have collectors calling them all the time because they have issues with that, and I feel bad for them. And it's a side effect of universities. You're young and you don't know, and next thing you know, you're older, and it's like, oh, what do I do? So look into it. When you're looking into it, if you're going to go to an actual university, look into it, ask questions, talk to people, find out what kind of loans there are. I mean, there's different types of loans, subsidized, unsubsidized. Learn all of that. If you're going to go and take money from the government, for that matter, and especially private schools, learn those terms before you actually apply. And it's going to save you in the long run. You're going to learn how to set your money aside, you're going to learn how to manage it, you're going to learn how to do your payments. So, long-winded, universities, private schools are going to cost more than local universities. Local universities, there are some amazing local universities out there. However, there are also a lot that aren't that great. So you need to check in on your instructors. The university I went to was a private university, and it was expensive. But all of my instructors that I had were teaching in the gaming field or working in the game fields. They're working for Disney, Pixar. They're really good instructors. So I was very happy with my art degree. Not happy with the cost that came with it, but you live and learn. You manage it. Life goes on. You can't live in the past. So things to look for right there. But yeah, I mean, universities do have their place. Just look into them, find out what fits for you. You need to balance your cost versus the instructors you'll get and all that kind of stuff. It all plays into it, so look into that. So pretty long-winded on that one. The other option is ateliers. Now this is something that I'm looking into now that I'm a little more into like post-graduation. I've been in the field, I've been working in the field, I've had commissions, I've had a couple different companies that I've done some stuff for. And I also do graphic design pretty much full time. I have my degree in illustration, and I actually apply it to the graphic design field, which is something that a lot of illustrators can do because it's a mixed field. I use a lot of my illustration skills in my graphic design, so I don't limit myself in terms of that. But an atelier, they're not a school where you're going to get a degree at. They're really schools usually run by other artists that there are some really prestigious ones out there. So you also have to look into them though, because not every atelier is created equally. There's some that are really great out there, and then there are just some that a couple people got together and they're hoping it launches. So you can find some really good ones, or you can find some startups. And just because it's a startup, don't get discouraged there either, because it might be an absolutely amazing artist that started it. Everyone has to start somewhere. So ateliers are going to be great. That's what I'm looking at. There's one in San Francisco that I'm looking into right now that I might start up. I don't know. It's really kind of up in the air on how busy I am and where things are taking me. But that's a good option. So look at that. Mentors are also really great. Now, whenever you can get a mentor, if you can spend a lot of time with a mentor, that is definitely the way to go. Mentors can be absolutely amazing to work with. It's kind of like somebody holding your hand the entire time. I would actually prefer a really great mentor over any type of university. Especially since you can learn so much from a mentor and have that one-on-one training. They can show you what you're doing wrong, and how to correct what you're doing as well. You don't know what you don't know. So when you're making a mistake, you might be learning it the wrong way and not even be aware of it. So mentors can help you correct that. So hands down, if you have a good mentor, take that option, because they can be absolutely great. I was lucky enough in my university studies, I had an instructor who actually kind of took me under his wing, and I learned more from that instructor in the 2 semesters I had him than I learned the entire thing, because he was giving me such great feedback. When he would do like a video feedback for me that he was sending on my email in his spare time, there were some that were an hour and a half feedback, because he knew that I was that interested in learning from him. So he kind of became my mentor in that case. I'm always looking for mentors, no matter what skill level you get to. Find somebody who's better than you and use them as a mentor. Now, a good place to find those two brings us to the next section, sketch groups. There's a sketch group I used to go to every Saturday up at the local university where I'm at. It was just held by a bunch of individual artists. Every Saturday they'd hire a model and draw there. And I used to show up to it until my schedule got too busy. I would like to return at some point in time, but as it stands, that's just not an option. But I met some absolutely amazing artists up there. If you can go to those things, this was a live nude figure class. I highly suggest those. If you can fit something like that, you can meet amazing people. You can learn the human form like you're supposed to. Your skill level goes up. People there to give you feedback. They're just great. Any type of sketch group you can get into, go for it. Those things are great. Getting into things of you don't know what you don't know. There's something in the art field that just always kind of irritates me, and that's the whole idea of there's this prestige to being self-taught. Yeah, it's great if you're self-taught, because yeah, you save money. That's always great. But it goes back to that you don't know what you don't know. So as you're learning from YouTube or Vimeo or any type of online thing, it really is great. We do have a lot of options these days that weren't around before. And you can jump on these things and learn like how to draw the eye and how to draw the nose and so forth, or learn how to draw anything for that matter. There's so much information out there. The only problem with this whole self-taught notion is as you're drawing, you are getting better. That's always a plus, but you don't know what you don't know. Therefore, if your proportions are off, it doesn't matter how much you look at it. If you don't know proper proportions and you think you do, you're going to get them wrong. And the more you draw it, the more it becomes ingrained. So, for instance, say you have your eye measurements off. To give you an idea, an average measurement is usually, if you take the width of an eye The gap between your two eyes, between your nose, is the width of an eye, just to give you an example. But if you think it's the width of two eyes, you're going to draw it that width every single time, and it's going to be wrong every time, and you're going to grow with these mistakes, and you're going to wonder why your art never looks right, even when you have these ideas of, oh, but I'm self-taught, I've learned it right. The problem is you don't know. You think you did, but you don't. So even though there's video tutorials and all that, and they are great, that's really handy to have them, and it's really good to study, but without that feedback, they don't do as much as they could. So what I recommend to people when they're going the self-taught route, you need to mix and match. So download some videos, learn from the videos, have somebody else purchase the video as well. I always want you to purchase them because it supports the artist who's making them. But have them purchase the video too if it's an affordable video. A lot of these artists are making videos for $5, $10, $15. Buy it, have them look at it, and then work on it together. Work on that project together and share your tips and share your information. Say, this is what I've learned, this is what they've learned. Mix and match, make sure you guys are on the same page and helping each other progress. If you've got a mentor who's better that can actually say, okay, here's how you should have interpreted the video, this is where you're wrong at, you're going to progress a lot faster. Whenever you can get help with your art, take it. So in terms of art school, there's so many options. As I've kind of covered on here, there's just tons of options you can go, whether it's a local university to a mentor to an atelier, a lot of options. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get a good education. So never stop learning. Always find somebody who's better than you that can help out. Always be drawing. Always be working on your skill, and you're going to progress. So that's the whole side of it. Should you go to art school? Hands down, yes. What kind of art school? Oh, that's for you to decide. Look around, find out what works for you. Take the time. I mean, this is something that's going to follow you through your entire career. So make sure you're choosing wisely. If your finances can support it, universities are great. If they can't, local drawing groups, those are great. So look into it, see what you can do, work it out with some other people, join your groups and everything, and just keep on going. So hope this has helped you out. Feel free to shoot me any questions or comments that you might have. I'll get back to you. I encourage everybody to kind of help answer the questions if you know something about it as well. Get involved in the conversation. So hopefully this helped, and I will talk to you guys soon.